Cool. So we've got Tim here, who knows a lot about asset management.
I don't know about that. I'm trying to learn every day.
So we've got an interesting question here for you.
Sure.
Which is, why do automatic audit trails matter?
Absolutely. Okay. So I guess as an asset manager and as a business owner of an asset management firm, I guess I look at the world in terms, very simply, on two sides: the offensive side and the defensive side, I guess. And so the offensive side, as an investor, I think about how I can bat better, which is have more winning trades over time to losing trades. And I also think about how to adjust those appropriately so that the winning trades are sized properly, optimally. On the defensive side, I also constantly think about, at the operational side of the business, is how can we better reduce the number of errors that are happening in the business that could be potentially terminal.
Yeah.
And how do we make sure that when these problems and these errors come up, that they are not fatal?
Right.
And so it's kind of the inverse, I guess, of the offensive side is how do we have that internal knowledge and understanding on the pulse of the business to really, really make sure that...
How's it been done in your experience so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm not proud to say, at least for my own, our own small little investment firm, we've had to do it very manually. It would have to, for example, the average auditor that comes in to audit takes about 6 days. It takes about a day for us, historically, to just get the data that is necessary. Just to pull it together and just to aggregate it. And then, obviously, a lot of it's in a hard copy form, it's printed out in stacks, and I've always kind of dreamed and wished for just a more efficient way to kind of get that process done.
So where do you think there's room for it being more tech-enabled?
Yeah, I think the automation is, it seems to be a buzzword these days. Everyone is talking about automation and I guess the derivatives of that, deep learning and machine learning and stuff like that. But, so I guess in my head, what does automation mean for me and my business? I think that, just to digress slightly, I think a step before automation is just defining and standardizing terminology, right? And capturing the data that's supposed to be captured and making sure that it's labeled neatly. It's a bit of an OCD thing, almost. But so when it comes to standardizing, I think that's the precursor to automation. And I think for businesses, what that really, really provides by standardizing definitions and having everyone understand what that means is you allow for things to be predictable.
Okay.
Right after you've standardized and made your business predictable, what you really, really start to be able to do is, through automation, be able to make that repeatable.
Yeah.
Right? And as you kind of rinse and repeat and have these operational processes be repeatable and predictable, over time, with a lot of energy and effort, what happens is the whole business becomes scalable over time.
Okay.
And so I kind of think of it as kind of that sequence. Like, the standardization really, really allows us to, first, everyone just knows what means what. Yeah. The next level after that, repeat over and over and over again, and over a longer duration than, by definition, things just kind of scale, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And how do you think that applies in the audit space in particular?
I guess that comes down to the trail work. I think, I think being able to look back in time with 100% precision and accuracy, to know that what you're trying to recall at that moment is exhaustive.
So you like a place that has 100% of all the data that you need,
with that level of certainty, there's an intangible price to I think to that, value to that. Oftentimes I think businesses are 90% confident that they have everything, the data, 95% confident, but when you go from 90, 95 to 100, I think that's a very compelling proposition, right? And so being able to look back in time, the human mind is prone to error, and we look at things linearly. Yes. Right? And so when you have a lot of things happening in a firm and a lot of people kind of running the business and making investment calls and decisions, being able to simultaneously track everything, it's just a tough job and an ask for a human to do. So it's almost like not asking a human, setting a human up to fail. Yeah. Like how can we, just implement a system that, that just kind of
And from a compliance perspective, do you think this is like some sort of a game changer in the sense that now that it's all automatic, that you can capture all of the information properly, what sort of value add does this bring to a fund that is regulated or has a licensed, copy?
Yeah, absolutely. I personally kind of feel that a healthy dose of regulation is always a good thing.
Okay.
Personally. Healthy dose. And that's to be debated, I guess, in terms of magnitude.
Yeah.
But, a part of me feels that it's really, really important to understand the spirit and the intention of why, these regulations are even there in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think, and for me, I like to come back to, being in an investment space, you're actually, once again, it's a sacred obligation, right? To be able to manage that money.
Holding people's money.
Holding people's money. Yeah. It's a lot of accountability. I think about, once again, I come back to people who have been in investment space, and I think the error that I often see is that you get a lot of people looking at investment rules as prestigious rather than critical.
The responsibility is really high.
Really, really critical. And so if you take a more critical and important lens to how one manages a business and allocates capital, I think one, really, really wants to do the best job they can to adhere to the spirit of the checks and balances that the regulators are also pushing for, and investors are also looking for, and one should want for themselves anyway.
True.
So it's almost like trying to adhere to a higher principle around transparency, around, these kind of principles, I guess. And, so,
and also allows you maybe to have a check of how you're doing as well, like internally for you to understand where all your trades are, and
Absolutely. I would hope that, firms today, and anyone who starts a business, would approach wanting to build their business and fully understanding what's happening in the company, rather than hiding things. We all know that the world it's a wide spectrum, but at least our assertion is that there's a right way to build businesses, and we hope that people value.
Cool.
That.
Well, thanks a lot. That was really informative.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.